Okay, so here's what I've done. I've muted our NN19 that had the drum samples from the earlier demonstration. And I've also put the tempo back to 130 beats per minute. You can see no sound because I've muted that sampler. Okay, another thing you may have noticed is I've loaded a Dr. Rex player in the rack. Okay, and what I did, I loaded that same drum loop into the Dr. Rex. Now I couldn't do that directly because that drum loop, as I was playing it in the sampler, was a wave file. It was one long, well, 2-measure long drum loop. A drummer playing it in a studio or a drum machine or whatever. It was 2 measures long, recorded at a tempo of 130 beats per minute. So I couldn't change it. What I did was I sliced up the drum loop and converted it to something called a Rex file using Propellerhead's Recycle software, which is really fun, super easy to use, and it helps you create Rex files. Okay, we're going to talk more about Rex files in a minute, but let me just show you how what the main difference between a drum loop as a sample and a drum loop as a Rex file. I'm going to turn on this little button right here on the Dr. Rex player, select slice via MIDI. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to play a preview of this loop, and you see this highlighted area. You're going to see that moving across the screen here. You can see the waveform here, the audio waveform here with all of its peaks and valleys, and you will see that highlighted section moving across the display here. And every highlighted section represents a separate slice. Okay, let's listen and watch. Okay, so what is a Rex file? A Rex file basically chops up a sample into a whole bunch of individual slices, and then it maps out those slices on the MIDI keyboard. We have a little representation of a MIDI keyboard here. Imagine, if you will, that each drum hit, each slice is mapped to a different key on the keyboard. So rather than one key playing the entire 2-measure slice, each key plays one drum hit. And when we speed up Reason's tempo, those keys are going to get triggered more quickly, so the drummer will play faster. If we slow down Reason's tempo, those keys will be triggered more slowly, so our drummer will play more slowly. I'm going to put it back in preview mode, and then I'll come down here and I'll change the tempo. And I just want you to listen to how the drum loop speeds up and slows down in sync with the Reason tempo. Here we go. Okay, I couldn't do that with the sampler. Remember, the sample would get triggered more quickly or triggered at later times in the song, but that just made our drum track a mess. Now we have a drummer that's playing in sync with our with our sequencer tempo. I'm going to very quickly send this Rex file to track. I have my left and right markers set. I'm going to highlight this track, and I'm going to the Dr. Rex track in the sequencer, and then I'm going to hit the 2-track button on the Dr. Rex player. And now I'll hit the play button. And no matter what I do with the tempo, the drummer stays in sync. Okay, I can stop in the middle of a bar and hit the play button, and it will start up right where it left off. Okay, I'll give you an example of that. Again, that was another thing we couldn't do when we were playing with sample drums. So this is an example of why we need REX files as opposed to samples.